So, good afternoon. Welcome to the Chai Academy. Took a little break, vacation, and now we're back. So, because we're in the middle of a course that is famous Jewish personalities, but I think I want to put a pause on it for a few days, so we can study together. We can study together Rosh Hashanah. So this is a Rosh Hashanah primer, a preparation for Rosh Hashanah. As we know, Rosh Hashanah is coming rapidly. It's September 6th at night. It's on a Monday night, and it's closer than it is, So the high holidays, the awesome high holidays. So the reason why we're going to talk about preparing, because it would be completely it'd be impossible. Forget unbecoming. It would be impossible for one to get up in the morning, Rosh Hashanah, shower, and then go to synagogue. I'm ready. I'm here. Right? It is one needs one needs preparation. You have to be in a proper mindset in order to stand there. I mean, let's face it. Rosh Hashanah is the one of the holiest days of the year. It's clearly one of the most important days of the year because God is judging your year. God is making decisions about how your year is going to go. Not only your year individually, but familial, globally, communally, lions, tigers, and bears. I mean, even animals. Everything gets God. God takes a global view on Rosh Hashanah and decides how he wants to proceed. And we entreat him with prayers and song, etc. So to basically, and we don't request so much on Rosh Hashanah. We definitely don't mention sin. We'll talk about that. But we request a good year and a happy and healthy, etc. So therefore, because it's such an awesome day, because it's so incredibly important, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about customs before. We're going to talk about customs before Rosh Hashanah, so it will A, get in the mood, and B, this is part and parcel. So the first thing is that during this time, we're talking about 30 days before, whenever we write pen a letter to somebody, or we on the phone with somebody, or we meet somebody face to face, we wish them a kativa v'chatima tova. May you have a good inscription for the coming year. So, and it's not just a blessing, Happy New Year. It's saying, may you be inscribed. I'm blessing you, so you should be inscribed and sealed for a good year. What you're doing is you're sharing kindness, you're sharing love, you're sharing compassion, you're sharing concern. I want you to have a good year. Right? What message does that send to God? Right? As we know, that a lot of what happens in this world is done by our initiative. We do something positive. We send up a positive energy. God reciprocates with positive energy. So blessing somebody, praying for somebody, wishing somebody is reciprocated. That's not why we do it. This is just a fringe benefit. So we write in a letter. This is probably the custom why people send Rosh Hashanah cards, New Year cards. Right? It's not written anywhere specifically New Year cards, but this is probably how it came to be, is because you want to bless friends and family with a good year. The next thing we do is from 30 days before, we blow a synopsis of the shofar sounds. So while on Rosh Hashanah we hear 100 sounds, every day in the morning after services, we hear 10 sounds, short and sweet. And the idea behind that is Rosh Hashanah is coming. Um, the Rosh Hashanah is coming, so please, um, it's time for you to reflect, to do some introspection. So it is when you hear the shofar, you cannot help but think about Rosh Hashanah. You cannot help but think about what's coming up soon. It also the shofar sounds like a cry. So it's when you hear that shofar sound, for many it sends a chill down their spine. For others, it just makes them reflect. And the Rosh Hashanah is coming, and I need to get my affairs in order. What do I mean by affairs in order? So firstly, before the new year, it is incredibly wise to make peace with those you've argued with, and especially if it was a bad argument, especially if there's a grudge, especially if there's bad feelings. What you want to do, this is all part of the preparation. Now, it must be done before Yom Kippur, but if the earlier the better. Yom Kippur God will only forgive sins between man and God, but He will not forgive sins between man, interpersonal sins, interpersonal relationships. So you want to go into Rosh Hashanah with just no haters, no detractors, no people who feel you did the wrong thing by them, and we all err. We all, we all have our apologies. Begin with our spouses, and to our adult children, and then to others. So that way, that's part of preparation. You hear the shofar, you think about spiritually, how am I doing? That's called introspection. You hear the shofar, and you think to yourself, I got to be a better person. I have to make peace with those that I have troubled. And by the way, it's difficult. It's difficult. But what happens if you and somebody got into an argument and it's not your fault? Right? Let's discuss that for a second. It's not your fault. That other person really hurt you, and it's unfortunate. So there's two ways of looking at it. Well, he hurt me, or she hurt me, or they hurt me. So therefore, I'm going to wait until they apologize. Or you can, before Rosh Hashanah, try and bury the hatchet. Say, and it's a tall order. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying that I'm at that level, by the way. But to see if you could just, go into Rosh Hashanah with kumbaya. Right? Go into Rosh Hashanah without any bad feelings, and you initiate. You be the bigger person. Once again, it's not easy, and I'm telling you that is difficult for someone like me as well. So introspection and also settling arguments. We'll go back to introspection in a minute. The next thing is Psalms, extra prayers. We're taught Psalms specifically, whether you recite them in Hebrew and you don't understand what you're reading, or you recite them in English, or you recite them in Hebrew and you do understand what you're reading. Psalms are probably the most powerful prayers there are. I recite Psalms every day. There's a daily Psalm I recite. My wife recites Psalms every day, not only the daily Psalms, but she also recites for each member of our household. So, for example, if we have a grandchild that's 1, he's in his 2nd year, so she will recite Psalm 2. And for every child, every in-law, every grandchild, And if she has time, she does it for siblings and for others. And if she's really, really bored, I guess she'll do it for me as well, my age. So recite Psalms. And in fact, the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, he instituted that this month of Elul, the month be preceding, the 30 days preceding Rosh Hashanah, which is it's 30 days, we should recite extra Tehillim, extra Psalms every single day. So Psalms you can find online, of course not on Shabbat. You can even pick up a book of Psalms here. If you wish to borrow a book, just pick one up and just recite any psalm, any psalm. They're all powerful. I once read in a Hasidic book that says something as follows. It's not a direct quote, but says that if we would just know the power of Psalms, what it accomplishes up above, we would be unable to do anything else. If we fully appreciated how powerful they are, we'd be pretty much stuck. We would not be able to get on with work or with this or with that. We would just be obsessed with reciting Psalms. So it really puts it in perspective. So we do our life, but we also dedicate a few more Psalms each day of this month. A week before Rosh Hashanah, we recite extra prayers called the Slichot prayer. It begins on Saturday night. This year, it begins August 28th at night, and we're going to have two cantors playing off each other Saturday night, August 28th, here at the Hashanah, 10:30. But for Sephardim, they do it the entire month. For Ashkenazim, we do it a minimum of 4 days before, because Rosh Hashanah falls out on Monday night, so we don't have the 4 days if we began on Saturday night. So therefore, we do it a week earlier. So we have, 7-8 days of Slichot, which is unusual. That's the longest Ashkenazim have, actually. But Sephardim, they do it every day. So that's and Slichot is basically where you ask God, you recognize that you're fallible, and you verbally articulate your humility that, you know what, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect. Am I happy? Could I have done things better? I try my best. And by the way, that's all that's asked. But there are times where I slip up and I'm not happy about it. And I ask you for strength. That is the idea of Slichot. Finally, we cannot go into Rosh Hashanah without having solidified thoughts. Thoughts of, what do I pray for? What do I think about? Right? We know Rosh Hashanah is the creation of man. We know that's when Adam and Eve were created. So we know it's an important day for human beings. Right? So we know that. And we know it's an opportune time to pray. We know that God is judging us, and we got to get as much prayers and as much requests as possible, and we have to laud God, we have to incarnate God, recognize that God rules the world, etc. But what exactly is considered appropriate thoughts? So you're prepared. So it's Rosh Hashanah, not Rosh Hashanah. So I believe there's 4 or 5 things. The first thing is, and I chose this order specifically because it is in order of importance. The first thing is health. Health. Dear God, I am looking this year, I beg your mercy. I'm praying for health, physical health, mental health, emotional intelligence, spiritual health, health of my children, health of my family. No No bad stuff this year. No surprise health issues, non-surprise health issues. And if I know somebody that's sick, I pray for their recovery. Once again, you care about somebody else, God reciprocates. So you put it in perspective, and you recognize that your health is in God's hands, right? While it's true when a person gets sick, they're obligated to go to a doctor to figure it out, and medication, no medication, antibiotics, creams, surgery, etc. Yeah, but ultimately, who even wants to go there? Who wants to go there? So first and foremost, health. Without health, you're not a mensch. Without health, it's extremely difficult to function. You know, if a person is in chronic pain, they can't focus on other things until they, God forbid, get used to the chronic pain. But that's who needs to be in chronic pain? Who wants to be in chronic pain? So therefore, we ask for a health and a health, a holistic health, not just physical health. Health in all, you know, being depressed or despondent or melancholy, etc., is not healthy. So you pray for that as well. Pray that emotional health, and pray for that you can think things through clearly without being clouded by emotions, because that's not healthy either. You have to have emotions, but you cannot act solely on emotions. You have to bring your thoughts into it, and your thoughts have to direct your emotions. It all comes under the banner of health. The second thing that I believe is important is to have emunah. Emunah and bitachon. Trust, faith, and trust. Emunah is faith. We believe that God. We believe there's a God. We believe that a God that directs our steps. We believe we have we have free will and moral decisions. But generally, aside from our moral decisions, our mitzvahs, or not to do a mitzvah, not to help somebody, a lot of things we believe that it's controlled by God. So that's we have a faith. Obviously, if you're an atheist, you're not going to resonate with this one. There's no atheist in a foxhole, by the way. If you're agnostic, you're going to have trouble. But so that's the first thing, emunah. You believe that God and God is in control. Bitachon is one step deeper. Bitachon is not only is there a God, not only is God in control of our fate, but we trust that God has our back, that God knows what's good for us. It's not always so easy. So we have a bad day, bad week, bad month, right? We could low level of faith or no faith. Oh, come on, this is just luck of the draw. Low level faith is God, I'm mad, I'm furious, right? That's it. I'm throwing out the baby with the bathwater. The level of bitachon is I don't understand what's happening. I don't like what's happening. But I trust in you. I trust that you know what you're doing. That you're dishing out whatever you're dishing out. I pray to you to make things feel good, revealed good, but I do trust in you. And this is where trust and faith come in. It's very easy to believe in God and very easy to trust in God when you just won the New York State lottery. But how about when something negative happens? You cannot fold like a cheap camera. You have to be strong and say, I don't like it, and I pray for the reversal of X, Y, and Z. But God, I trust you. Trust is important. So far, we have health, holistic health. We have faith and trust. The next thing, and you feel free to comment, by the way, now or if you see it later, not live. The next thing is that God, please provide us with a livelihood, not a pauper's livelihood, a livelihood, a life where we can afford good things, where we can live without stress and anxiety. We don't live hand to mouth. We don't live paycheck to paycheck, where we can squirrel away, where we can give charity. And by the way, the Talmud says clearly that you can tell God, please God, you take care of me and my family, and I'll give charity. I'll take care of you and your family. I will support your causes. Right? I will support things that are important to God, whatever that may be. Obviously, if it's antithetical to God's will, then that's not supporting God's charities. But if it's aligned with God's will and it's consistent with God's will, tell God, I will support. I make a deal with you, God. And yeah. So while a person shouldn't be so overly consumed with the color of their car and the color of their inside of their car, and what type of engine is it, and do I get the AMC engine or do I get the regular? Yeah, that's too steep to materialistic. But God, I want to buy a nice car. I want a nice house. Right? Do the blinds have to be silk damask? Not necessarily, but nice blinds. So it's the Talmud says, by the way, harchavat hamakom harchavat hadat. That the bigger the place you live in, the nicer the place you live, the more broader your scope will be. If you live in a studio apartment of 400 square feet, you're gonna think smaller. You live in a bigger place. The trick is how not to get caught up in it. That's the trick. But to ask God for good things, for a livelihood, and be able to support and be an upstanding member of your community is very powerful. Is extremely powerful. So pray for financial success. Pray that you be treated well in your business environment. Pray that you have a certain amount of good direction from God, clarity of what to do next, so you can make money, etc. But don't let it become obsessive, because then you've taken a good thing and you've really turned it into a negative. So pray for money. Pray for money. I do. I clearly pray that Hashem, please help support my family. Help me be able to pay my bills. The next thing on my list would be for children. We're mentally healthy. We have trust in God. We have money to support them. God, take care of them. It's a tough world out there. And while we pray for wisdom to be able to give our children the right answers and right direction, rearing children is like holding a bar of soap. You squeeze too hard, you lose it. It falls out of your grasp. You squeeze too gently, you touch it too gently, it falls out of your grasp. There's this fine line of how to bring up our children. Where, how, what, when, who. Right? And we pray for direction. Please let me do right by my children. Right? I'm a very strong believer, by the way, in apologizing to one's kids. I'm a very strong believer. So and I do it, and I've done it. So and even things that happened years ago, and it's whatever, it's brought up, or I think about it. I will call my kid and apologize and say, I've been thinking and ruminating because I saw this, that, and the other. I apologize. I want to take out the knife. I want to heal the wound. So, but dear God, please let us not make the wound in the first place. The second, the second part of children is that, my goodness, I'm putting them in the hands of teachers, professors, coaches, rabbis. Please, dear God, protect them from insane people. Protect them from bad influences. Protect them. You can have a professor or a teacher, who glorifies Hitler. God forbid. And that's an extreme example. Please, God, their influence, they're those that they look up to. They're not their peers. We'll talk about that in a minute. Not their peers. They're mentors. Please, don't keep um, keep bad people, bad mentors, keep pedophiles away from them. Don't let anybody take advantage of my kid, etc., etc. God, protect them. Peers, colleagues, please, and this is when they're growing up, you have influence over. That you can say, no, I don't like this, I don't like that. But when they get older, you can't. I always say, you've got from 0 to 15, 16 to mold your child. Once they hit that age, very hard to mold and to change, and ship has sailed. So but before 15 or after 15, you pray, God, please let them meet good people. Don't let them, I want my kid to have good values, and please, keep them away from a bad encounter. A wild friend who's gonna teach him how to, hack a system. Children, right? So peers, mentors, yourself, how to direct them, know when to speak, know when not to speak. For the most part, listen. For every 10 words they say, every 100 words they say, you should say 5. Just listen. As the older they get, the less you speak, and that takes divine wisdom, and you pray for it. That's exactly what you pray for, and you pray that they should find, in addition to peers and mentors, they should find a good spouse. They should find a good person, not a bad person, not a controlling person, not a person who has a chip on their shoulder, or a person who's gonna fight with the in-laws, etc., etc. So there's a lot to pray for, and there's 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah, and there's a lot to pray for. So I pose it to the few people online here. Any other thoughts? Anything that you can suggest that we pray for? So we've covered the basics. Of course, you pray that there's no wars. You pray there's no hunger, there's no strife, there's no jealousy. There's no, that this world can turn back on its, get back to normalcy, where there's bridges burning all over this world. There's COVID, etc. Of course, that comes under health, I think. But may things that are wrong be right. And introspection, and this is where we'll close. What can you do to help the world? What can you do? What influence can you have to right the wrongs of the world? Can't just ignore it, right? We cannot just ignore it. So I know recently, about anti-Semitism, the Ben and Jerry thing. I wrote to congressmen, I wrote to senators, I wrote to town council, and by the way, they responded with letters of condemnation, which is very important. I didn't just say, what can I do? So it's important to not be a voyeur, not to be a bystander, not to be just somebody who cops the attitude, but rather introspection, reduction in anti-Semitism. Absolutely. What can you do? And pray for it. Pray for it. There should be a reduction, and not just a reduction, but a eradication. And what can I do practically? It's very important to have Rosh Hashanah, right? To have thoughts. You don't want to make too many resolutions because we all know resolutions. But practically, what can I do? What can I do? Tomorrow we'll continue with preparations for Rosh Hashanah. Please share if you think this is of value to someone else. We have many other classes on thechaicenter.com/academy. And make your high holiday plans now. If you need a lulav and etrog, make your plans now. Don't forget to join us, and God bless. Stay healthy.